Welcome to Real Estate 360, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Cucchiara, will provide you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. Now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate 360 team leader, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome in. Good afternoon. This is Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate 360. Thank you so much for spending some time with us this afternoon. We are with you every single day, Monday through Friday from 3 to 4. And a little bonus time on Wednesdays and Thursdays. We have Tom Wilson from 2 to 3 on Wednesdays. Lori Graymont jumps in from 2 to 3 on Thursdays. So bonus time for you on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Be sure to tune in and listen to the show from 2 to 4 on Wednesdays and Thursdays. You can listen to us a couple different ways. One is on your radio, KDOW 1220 AM on your dial. Also, you can listen to us live online. That's KDOW.biz. That's KDOW.biz. You can listen to us live. If you happen to miss any shows, be sure to know that we have a library of podcasts there. Any of these shows you could listen to. And we are a live show. Love your calls, love your questions. That number is always the same, 1-800-516-1220, 1-800-516-1220. All right, today we have a couple of guests here, and most of you know Mr. Mike Ambrosio. He does the host the show on Mondays for RE360. Mike, welcome back into the studio.
Yeah, it's good being on the other side of the table.
It is. We're going to have some fun today, and we also have alongside Mike an executive life coach, Steve Stefanik? Stefanik, I'm sorry. Messed that up for you.
Supersonic Stefanik.
Supersonic, yeah. So we're going to be talking about life transitions, and we're going to have some fun interacting here. If you have any questions about the topics we're going to discuss today, give us a call. Although it's about real estate, anything and everything real estate. So if you have questions for Mike or I, and you might have some questions for Steve as well as we roll along here, give us a call, 1-800-516-1220, and love to hear those questions. All right, Mike, let's get started. Introduce Steve here, and let's get this rolling.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having us on. And I had Steve on. I think it was a couple months ago,
back in December.
And I work with Steve for over 2 years now since I moved to Ontario, and he's really, he's been a business coach for me. And he really, I think what he does best is he takes what you love to do and things you really enjoy doing and incorporating that into your business plan, into your business model, and essentially letting you enjoy, working and doing the things that you love to do as well as making money on top of it. So I guess it's a good combination. He also studies a lot of different schools of thought on business coaching and coaching in general. So he kind of incorporates all that into a recipe for Stefanik coaching. And maybe you can give a little bit more of your background and experience.
Sure. Thank you, Mike. It's really a pleasure to be here again with you and Joe. And thank you, Joe, for bringing me on your Thursday program.
My pleasure.
Fantastic. So as Mike said, I'm an executive life coach. So I really help people move through life transitions. And, I help superstars shine brighter. I help people transcend to the next level of their life, their career. And I bring to the table about 15 years of sales, frontline sales experience. So from a point of view of real estate, I used to sell with Alain Pinnell for about 8 years. In addition to that, I've got 10 years of corporate background. So I really learned the big game of business, the global game of business, how to manage effectively teams, and work with all the dynamics of all different types of nationalities and people. And lastly, I'm a big passionate person about education. So I spent the last 20 years really investing a lot of my time and energy in learning the new and the latest techniques to really help what I call human empowerment.
That's great.
Right, how to bring the best out of my clients, how to bring the best out of me as well.
Well, now I know why you hooked up with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Education, huh?
Exactly.
So those that have just tuning in now or checking in, we started the show about 3 years ago, and the focus is education information. That's why I love to hear what Steve says, because Mike and I, this is really our core. This is what we do. The focus of the show in our business really is education information, and we believe, I know that we both believe that by doing that, providing consumers the best education information, we help them make wise decisions, and that's what we have this format for. So great to hear Steve talk about that. Who's the ideal client, Steve, for you?
Well, the ideal client is anybody typically between their 40 and 50 and going through
Okay.
what you call the midlife.
Okay.
Right? And they're going through some transition around their career, their life, or just even their purpose. And we're going to go into some of that a little later. But what I wanted to start off today was really what we're focused on in terms of, what we put out there is life transitions. How life transitions can get in our way. And when they get in our way, it can slow us down. So if you're a superstar performer, right, you're hitting high production, and then all of a sudden some transition of your life shows up. A transition can be a move as well. And so some of the concepts that we talk about today, I want to make sure we apply those to home buyers and home sellers, people that are thinking about one of those, what we call one of the big 5 stressors in life is moving. We're also going to talk a little bit more about these stressors. The other 4, if you're interested in what those are, is death.
Yeah.
Death of a loved one is important, a big stressor. Divorce, major illness, and job change. Right, so those are the ones that really can get in the way of us continuing this aggressive path that we have as career professionals.
Yeah, so you're steaming down the path or the road, and all of a sudden one of these major life transitions hits you, whether it's divorce, death, job change. How do you handle that? How do you best handle it and cope with it, I guess, and then continue to run your business, right? I mean, especially all of us that are self-employed. I mean, we don't have the luxury usually of just, hey, I need to take 2 months off. I'm getting a big salary. That's not the case. So this is
That would be nice.
This is important. This is important stuff.
Thank you. So yeah, some of the what I'm going to be looking at over the next hour, right, for this program is some of the universal fundamentals of what we need to look at in order to effectively transition or move through these transitions in our life, right? The first one, and if I can jump into it, is it all right? We
Absolutely. Let's do it.
The first one is really how to anticipate some of these changes that are coming in your life. Right, as we talked about, there's a lot of research, as you said, you're really about education and learning. There's a lot of research out there that talks about the changes that happen in people's lives. There's a document that I've studied. It's called the 13 Domains of Human Concern, and these are the things as a human being you're going to have to address. Right, and so today we're going to talk about, well, if I can anticipate some of these things that are coming toward me, then I can plan appropriately to deal with them. And this is where the real breakdown happens, is most people don't take the time to really see the life that's ahead of them.
Right.
And we know that these fundamental principles are going to happen for us. So how do we stop, reflect, and really work with professionals to really think through these things in a way that we can plan out that if this hits us, that we have the right resources, the right mindset, and the right actions in place that we can actually take care of these.
Right. Because most of us, isn't it, especially males, let's face it, most of us men, we think we can handle everything, right?
Exactly.
Anything that comes our way, we'll get it, we'll tackle it, so
give me a roll of duct tape and I can handle anything, right?
and more hours in the day.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, this is good stuff, Steve, because that is most of the problem, right? I mean, we're working hard, and all of a sudden something like this hits us, and how do you deal with it emotionally, psychologically, and still keep your work life, your personal life, your family life, without making it a train wreck?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So it's the old donkey and the carrot scenario. I think in this valley here, unfortunately, and fortunately, we're driven to really succeed at a very high level. We're surrounded with all A players in the valley, and we're driven to really get to that in line. In that, we put our head down and we just focus, right? As you said, one of the virtues of a man is that he can focus on one thing. But at the same time, if we don't stop and put our head up, boy, life can break down around us real quickly, right? And that's when you run into these stressors. So as a homeowner, right, or a home buyer, one of the things to think about, we can take this same principle about anticipating breakdowns, anticipating life changes, and put it into the real estate world.
Perfect.
Right, so if you're anticipating that you're going to have children that are going away to college, what are you going to do with the house? Maybe it's too big. Right, so you can start to meet with a professional like you guys and really start to plan out some of these conversations that you need to be in over the next 6 months, maybe the next year. We're in that college acceptance time, right? There's a lot of letters showing up.
Right.
So once that child goes away in 6 months, have you thought about what you're really going to do with your real estate? So that's one area. We can also think about, job change.
Right.
Sometimes in the valley here, we're coming toward the end of our career, or we're starting our career, or we're getting changes, or there's different opportunities out there. How do we sit back and really look at those changes that are happening are going to be happening and plan appropriately.
Yeah.
And like I said, if you put it in the real estate world, Mike, how would people bring you into the picture, and what value would you offer to them at that stage?
I think for people that are, going through a change like this or are anticipating something like that, you want to call your real estate professional, your mortgage professional, and start a plan of action, and make sure, it's funny, make sure you're not bringing in someone that's just trying to make a sale or get get a commission next week, right? Make sure you're bringing in someone that's qualified, that's been around a long time, that knows your situation and is not going to push you to do anything you don't want to do. To answer your question more specifically, start getting an idea of the value that you're going to get for your house. Then you start talking about, okay, where's the money going to go? What debts do you have to pay off? The current loan. What are you going to buy? What are you going to qualify for? Where are you going to move? I mean, there's a lot of different things. How are you going to move? Who's going to get rid of all the stuff? So there's a lot of different things that you have to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, as I'm listening to you guys, Steve, I mean, Mike, one of the things that I could think of right now is listening is that what a great idea for us in our business to make a call once a year to our client database, right, and ask them about, do you have any life transitions going on? What a wonderful call to make, right?
Exactly. I'm working on a workshop right now for realtors, and it's called Mining for Gold.
Okay.
And one of the things is that when you typically see a listing show up, they've already faced that major stressor in their life, right? And so what we want to do as realtors or as mortgage brokers or bankers, we want to go out and talk to our customers and see where they're at in their life. Because if you see that there's an impending divorce or somebody's very ill in the family, or even children are leaving the house, you know fundamentally that they're going to have to make some kind of move.
Right.
And they could be staying there, but it also could be moving.
Yeah.
And so as a realtor, there's a way to kind of go on there and strike up those conversations, as you said, very insightful, and really make that happen.
And the other thing is realtors will typically be good resources for you as far as, if you are going, unfortunately, if you're going through a divorce or have a death, maybe they know a probate or estate planning attorney or a divorce attorney. Usually they have those type of people on call.
Right.
So, it's good to at least get those resources from them and start making whatever moves you need to make.
Yeah, really what we want to do is lessen the impact.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Stressors are going to happen in your life. Big things are going to happen in your life, and that's just part of being human.
Right.
But how do you make those so they don't change your trajectory of where you're at, so they don't break you to a point that you can't function anymore? And by taking the time to plan, anticipate, bring in professionals, really that makes all the difference.
Yeah. I love this. So we're bringing this to the level of the homeowner, the consumer. If you could apply this, if you're listening to the show, really these life transitions, if you could think about it right now, maybe this may sound funny. We'll talk about it on the other side, but there may be people right now that don't even know they're going through or about ready to go through. I know that sounds funny, but
Sometimes
probably
they don't. Yeah. No, definitely.
When you think about it, I mean, we could give some examples when we come around the other side. This is Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate 360. We have in studio today Coach Steve Stefanik and Mike D'Ambrosio. We'll be back with you in just a couple minutes. Give us a call, 1-800-516-1220. We'll be back with you in just a couple minutes.
Welcome back to Real Estate 360, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Again, your host for today's edition of RE360 Radio, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. This is Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate 360. We're with you every single day, Monday through Friday. I'm going to throw that question out. I'm going to do all week long here. And the question is to the consumer, to the public here, where do you find your real estate professionals, your real estate agents, your mortgage brokers, your bankers, your CPAs, your attorneys? Do you find them online, or do you find them through personal resources, referrals? Be interesting to find out where you find those. If you want to chime in and give us a call, let us know, 1-800-516-1220. In the studio today, we have my good friend here, Mike D'Ambrosio, who does a show on Mondays. Taking a little break from Monday. Not a break. He's adding more time here on the radio.
There we go. I'm putting in hard work over here. Slave driver.
And also we have alongside the executive life coach, Steve Stefanik, and he's kind enough to spare some time with us today. We're talking about life transitions and how it relates specifically to real estate. So why don't we jump back in here, Mike, and get us going again?
Yeah, so I think we wanted to get more into what some of those transitions might be for those listening, or, are they going through this? Maybe they don't know. Maybe they're foreseeing this happen in the future. So why don't you talk a little bit more about that, or maybe
Sure. Well, we
getting
talked
a little
about
older.
at a high level.
You know,
At a high level, we talked about death, divorce, a job
Right.
change, moving. I mean, like moving jobs,
Right.
and then of course major illness. But if you drop below that, a little lower level, there's the family dynamic. Like what's going on with your family?
Right.
Sometimes there's some changes going on with not just the husband and wife, but also the kids, right? So kids transitions, going to college. Right.
So they might need a bigger or smaller house. They're going to be, empty nesters, so they might need to downsize or right size as the new buzzword in real estate.
Right. Or financial concerns is another one, right?
Yeah.
Is this the kind of house that I want to support now?
Right.
Or do I have more financial capacity because I just took a new job or I was with Google or
Right.
what have you, right? So I'm growing. There's one that's out there, though, that's an interesting one. I'm seeing a lot pop up in some of my clients that I work with, and it's their elderly parents. So elderly
Right.
parents are in the home. They've been in the home for a long time, and they're pretty stable there. But what happens is, like with anything, we start to get older to the point where it's very difficult to manage that house.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, and so typically one or the other spouse, has a little more trauma than the other one, and so you start to see a place where they want to bring care in and support in.
Right.
But if you're the child of one of these folks, what you want to think about is, are we preparing ourselves effectively for when that inevitable thing happens, which is they need to move out of that
Right.
home. Right, so this is the time that you want to kind of see what the market's doing, see what the rates are going to do, talk about possibly
Right.
reverse mortgages
Right.
and all kinds of things that can
Yep.
happen now. And as the parents get older, it actually becomes almost, from my point of view and watching some of my clients go through this, it becomes the child's responsibility to manage that for them because they get to a point where they can't really do that.
Yeah, and this is a really relevant topic too, because as the population, we have the baby boomer generation, and then their parents are getting older, and so the whole adage that we have a lot of people that are getting older and need to either right size, move down, or move into transitional care, it's becoming a huge, I don't want to say problem, but it's becoming a huge topic, and that's why you see a lot of these senior care facilities or transitional care facilities are full,
Yeah.
and we need more of them. So starting to plan for that ahead of time as opposed to when you need it right away is definitely an important thing.
Yeah,
So-
it's very emotional when your parents are in that space as well. So to take care of that transition, that life transition that's going to be coming in a way that you have most of the ducks lined up. So
Yeah.
it doesn't impact your life in a way that it breaks you down, because the last thing you want is you to be broken, right?
What would you recommend to the person out there listening, driving around in their car, listening online, Steve? Like, if this has got them thinking, they're jogging, they're thinking, gosh, these are some good points. What are good ticklers, reminders? What would you suggest people do so that this stays in the forefront of their mind? I mean, is there certain, like, meet every quarter, talk to your spouse? I mean, do a budget? I mean, what?
There's
maybe
all
that's-
kinds.
I know it's probably a
fantastic.
big question for you.
That is a great question, though. There's all kinds of strategies you can do. The best one is communications,
Okay.
right? So
Yeah.
to really take that moment, and in the corporate world, I used to work for companies like Motorola, and in the corporate world, we would have these offsites. And the point of doing an offsite was you got your employees out of
Yeah,
the space
good point.
of work where they're overwhelmed
Yeah.
or they're consumed by the phone and the email and the text and everything else that happens there. So when you go on an offsite, there's a chance to really reflect and open up and see new possibilities in the marketplace. Well, the same applies in your life. So my suggestion would be, hey, plan an offsite for you and your spouse, even maybe for you and your family. But one of the key things about that is really to look at some of the life transitions. Where are you at in your life? Are you in your 30s? Are you in your 40s? In your 50s? Where are your parents at? Where are your kids at? And they're just real simple conversations that you can't seem to see when you're real busy all day.
Right.
But when you go on a little offsite and you make it fun, of course, you might be able to do that. So that would be my recommendation.
That's a good recommendation. Good point.
So the other thing we were talking about, other strategies to really help you transition or help you effectively cope with some of these transitions, what I call is the 3 Ps, the 3 Ps of life, your purpose, your passion, and your power. Your purpose is really that big why. Why are you engaged in this? So when you're in a transition, it's very important to be grounded in that you have a story about your life so you don't let this transition overtake you. Purpose can be as a high-level purpose. This is my calling on this planet, right? I'm here to serve this,
Right.
right? But also in transitions, you can come up with a purpose. Like, what do you want for your children? What's the purpose of, what needs to happen in their life as they transition through? So get really grounded on your purpose. And whether it's a very big one, like this is my calling in the world, or is it around some real specific thing, like my kids transitioning out of the home?
Perfect. All right, we're going to have to take another break. When we come back, we're going to have much, much more. If you'd like to get your calls on the air, 1-800-516-1220. Love your questions. Give us a call, 1-800-516-1220. This is Joe Cucchiara. We'll be back with you in just a couple minutes.
Welcome back to Real Estate 360, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Again, your host for today's edition of RE360 Radio, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. This is Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate 360. I'm in studio here, joined by Mike Ambrosio, who does the show every Monday on Real Estate 360, and also executive life coach Steve Stefanik is kind enough to share some strategies and things with us that are really helping in life transitions, and specifically how it relates to real estate. So I'm going to throw out there, before I give it back to Mike and Steve, what I'd like to throw out there a little bit is to get people thinking, if again, life transitions, and as it relates to real estate, these would be things like, for example, maybe you're aging and you're in a 2-story home. Maybe you need downsize, get a 1-story home. Maybe the expenses are so crazy to get caught up. Maybe you have a 3-acre lot and it's just ridiculous, and you need to downsize and get a smaller place, a condo, that someone else is taking care of those needs. Maybe you have an aging parent that needs to be in a care facility. Those are expensive.
Not cheap.
5, 6, 7, 8 grand a month, right? What do you have to do?
At all, yep.
The one I get, Mike and Steve, I was telling you guys off air a lot. Joe, I'm getting ready to retire or change jobs, and I'm going to start. I'm going to retire from my job and contract or do something different. When I do that, can I get financing? Can I go out and buy another home? Am I stuck in the home that I am? So these are what you're talking about, right, Steve? Really think about these transitions, the things that are going to come up, and they will come up with all of us. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, that anticipation of what's going to happen in your life. And again, if you read or talk to anybody that's a little ahead of you, you'll see that these things are going to happen, right? And so part of the great thing about life is there's typically someone that's gone before.
Yep.
And one strategy to really be in is as you move through life, always look for the person that's a little ahead of you and get them to be your mentor, your coach, your confidant in a way that they can kind of guide you through this. So, the human race has been around for a very long time. And we can pick the brains of our associates, our peers, our friends, our families in a way that can really offer us some guidance. As I said, one of the strategies is to get yourself out of that rat race. Stop chasing that carrot as much and really pull yourself out so you can have these conversations that really can bring some new meaning and passion into your life.
You could also, let's talk a little bit more about practices and how you can get ready for those situations. And so maybe you can go a little bit into that and getting yourself ready, planning for the future, and what type of practices you can do for that.
Yeah, so at a fundamental level, and we were talking about universal fundamentals, your practices are the way that you can shape your behavior. When I say practices, it's just like new things that you do every day.
Right.
And so one of the things you want to think about is this way that I'm acting today, is that going to help me out through this transition? If it's not, then it's time to hire a coach. It's time to bring in the realtor to really shift the way you're thinking, because our old thinking only gets us to a certain plateau, and then we have to move to another level.
So at that point, it might be time to pick up the phone and call your professional or whoever helps you out, with all those types of transitions, financing, real estate, et cetera, et cetera. So.
All right, we're going to have to take another quick break. This is a short segment. We're going to come right back with you. Give us a call, 1-800-516-1220. Are you thinking or struggling with something here in a transition? Give us a call. We have the experts in studio, 1-800-516-1220. We'll be back with you in just a couple minutes.
Welcome back to Real Estate 360, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Again, your host for today's edition of RE360 Radio, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon, and thank you for spending some time with us. We appreciate your support, feedback. Always want to take the time to thank you, the consumer, the caller, the person that continually call the show, email Mike and I. There's a lot of great interaction. We want to thank you from time to time. Again, it's because of you that we continue to have a successful show and a lot of good information back and forth. And share your thoughts with us, too. We love that. If you have ideas for a guest or suggestion, throw those at us as well, because we work real hard to get great guests as we have today and good content. We'll continue to do that for you. All right, let's jump back in, Mike, and get started here. We have 2 more segments. So if you have any questions or calls, now's a great time. 1-800-516-1220. We'd love to take those calls from you.
Yeah, so we've been talking today, a lot about the different transitions and different life events that can happen, whether it's in relationship to real estate or financing, different life events that are going to affect you and your family. So how can we, set up for success to get, to be successful with these life events? What are some practical ways to get ready for them and, kind of make those transitions?
Great. Thank you, Mike. When we're involved in these big transitions, like I said, it can be a very emotional space. And if we haven't planned appropriate for them, we can really get us into trouble. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that when you enter one of these transitions or you're planning for one of these transitions, you have to, as we talked about, get the story of why. Mm-hmm. And around that is really get this, what I call the 100% commitment that this is what we're going to do. It's almost like a burn the boat strategy, meaning a tribe of warriors is going to the other island, and they're going to be attacking the island. They're on the shore, and they turn around, and the boats are burning behind them, and they look to their captain, and they say, what's happening here? He said, you have 2 choices here. You either win or you die. That is the type of commitment that we need in these life transitions. They're big, right? Yeah. And you're going to get opinions from everybody and their brother. Right, so how do you stay engaged in a way? If you see one of these coming, you make your decisions and plan and stay committed behind getting to the right results. Once you get that commitment, like you're clear on what you're going to do, the next piece is to really go out and hire that professional. Mm-hmm. Right, and these 2 guys in the room are professionals, right? So you'd go to them and say, hey, I need to understand better what I'm doing here. You have to have someone that's there, what I call, for those middle of the night calls. Right. Because when you're starting to question yourself and what you're doing here, in these big life transitions, like selling a home or buying a home, you need to have that person you can call.
I think that's the biggest thing is having that commitment, because when you work with someone that's a little wishy-washy or not sure about what they're doing, not only does it affect the relationship that you have with your professional, but it also affects your own life, and it could affect your bottom line, to be honest with you, and we don't want that. So, you want to make sure. I think that's a great analogy you used about burning the boat. That's pretty powerful, but you want that commitment when, I always give the analogy that you're not buying or selling a cup of coffee here. You're buying or selling maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of real estate, right? So you want to really make sure you know what you're doing, you know what you're committed to, and you go for it, so.
Good. And then, like I said, getting that coach or that mentor to support you for those late night calls, those late night conversations, or even those during the days. Like, am I really on the right path here? The next step that's very important, right, is to get a support group around you. Get some people, like-minded people. Point. There's this thing called the conscious mind, that when you're in a group, right, the conscious mind becomes one. Yeah. And what happens is you start to see new levels of understanding. And actually, when you're in a group, you can learn faster. Mm-hmm. Right, so the process of learning is incredible. If any of you have been in exercise courses where you're trying to learn some routine, like a kickboxing course, if you try to do that by yourself, it's pretty difficult. But when everybody's punching left, right, uppercut, etc., all of a sudden the body really kicks in, and that's the power of the group conscious. So when you're in a big transition, a big change, you want to get around some like-minded people with a professional that's kind of being the facilitator and helping you through that.
I think that kind of transitions into having a supportive work or home environment too.
Good.
You want to have that when you go home, or when you guys are in a commitment to sell a house or buy a house or help your family downsize or whatnot. You want to all be on the same page and have a supportive environment, because if you go home to a negative environment, or it doesn't work, right?
Yeah, you can have that commitment, you can have the mentor, you can have the support group, but if you go home at night and your spouse is upset with you about selling the house, boy, you're in trouble, right? Big
That's
trouble.
right.
Same with the work environment. If you're going through a transition at work, you know, you have to have the support of the home as well as the work environment. You know, we biologically couple with other people that we hang out with. What's the old wise tale that be careful who you hang out with, you're going to become.
Yeah.
Well, you can use that to your advantage.
Sure.
You know, create the spaces or hang out with the people that you want to become, and you will become them. And so part of this commitment is to really find those and set up the environment in a way that you're going to win. Right, and then the last one you want to, there's two more actually. The other thing you want to think about is community support. So as you move through with this commitment of selling your house, you're going to, you know, go to the coffee shop and you're going to be, you know, around different people at the club, etc. And if they start naysaying your decision, you might run into troubles there, right? Depending on how strong you are at taking a stand. Right, so this is the piece that you want to be careful about when you're in one of these transitions, that you're surrounding yourself in your community with the right people, not only at home and at work, but as you move through the world.
Right.
And I think that goes back into having a supportive environment too, because, you know, when you talk about listing your house, everyone's going to have their own opinion, right, about price and whatever.
Right.
And it gets frustrating for sellers. You know, then you have your real estate professional saying one thing, and then you have friends and family that think they know everything because of the internet. But at the end of the day, you know, it boils down to your decision, and it's your essentially it's your money, right? It's your investment. So you make the decisions, and you make sure that you're comfortable with your decisions, and you're in a supportive environment for that too. So.
Good. And the last thing that really helps facilitate a successful transition is really to give back. And what that means is to engage with others that are going through this and actually give back to them in a way that you're helping them through it as well. And you say, well, geez, I'm not quite an expert. But when you force yourself to help somebody else, you learn it at a whole other level.
I agree.
Right?
And a cheap plug for that is going to the Toll House Mixer every month with like-minded professionals.
That's right.
There you go.
Yeah,
So-
no, that's a great point, Steve. I think anytime we're going to have to take our last break here in a second, but giving back, there's a saying about that too. When you're feeling at your lowest level, go help someone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, give back. It's amazing what that does for
It's
you.
really important.
We're going to have to take our last break. When we come back, we have one more segment. If you have any questions, give us a call, 1-800-516-1220, 1-800-516-1220. If you'd like to get your calls on the air, this is Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate 360. I'll be back with you in just a couple minutes.
Welcome back to Real Estate 360, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. Again, your host for today's edition of RE360 Radio, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome back in. Thank you for joining us today as we wind down the show. This is our last segment. It goes really, really quick here. This is Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate 360. I'm sitting alongside Mike D. Ambrosio, who is the host of our show on Mondays, and also executive life coach Steve Stefanik, kind enough to spend some time with us this afternoon. I'll pass it over to Mike as we wrap things up here and close us out here, Mike.
Yeah, I think if your head's already not swimming enough with life transitions and things that you could foresee coming up in the future, I hope that we help. Steve brought in a great topic today, and really, I think we were talking about offline is 10% of people are planners, right? So don't be the 90%.
Right.
And make sure you're making the right decisions and you're planning ahead and you're thinking about these things because, there's a lot involved in it, and you want to make sure you're doing the right thing and protecting your family and protecting your future. So, what do you think about that, Steve?
I think you're right. I think in terms of planning, as we said, it's a fundamental of life, one of the universal fundamentals, yet, as you said, only 10% actually do that. By the way, Mike's one of those 10%.
He's a planner.
He is a good planner. And
I
that's
see
why
his book. Look at his book. He's got his book wherever he goes. He's a planner.
I'm married to that book. If I lose that book, I'm dead.
He's a great planner. So if you're not one of those planners, and 90% of you aren't, then it's time to call Mike. It's time to call Joe. It's time to call me and really talk about some of these fundamental changes that could impact your life in a very serious way if you don't plan.
Right.
So just in summary, what we talked about planning around life fundamentals, and we identified a few of those by actually talking to others, being in a support group with others, and this could be other families as well. You can really start to hear, they're in that space, and I need to anticipate that might happen to me as well. So plan and anticipate is the first one. The second one is really, get your clear story of why, your purpose, right? And then we didn't talk much about passion, but your passion is your energy. Make sure it's something that's exciting to you. Don't go down the wrong path with something that's inconsistent with who you are. And then we talked about putting new practices in place. Like, what do you need to do to shift your mindset, to shift your common sense in a way that you can see this new possibility of this transition instead of from a negative point of view. It's actually a positive. Transitions can be very effective if you look at them from the right frame of mind. And lastly, we talked about how important it was to create what I call the 5 key things of support, right? Really looking at, the 100% commitment, burn your boat attitude, like this is where we're going.
Burn
And
the
then
boat,
build
baby.
a mentor, a support group. Make sure your family and spouses line the community, and give back. Give back is a big thing. Joe was mentioning how important it is to take care of others around you, and part of his mission here of the show is to do that. And I thank you very much for the opportunity to be on your show. If anybody needs to reach me, I'll just give my information.
Yeah, why don't you do that, Steve, at this time? If website, phone numbers, what's the best place to reach you?
Sure. So it's Steve Stefanik, and you can reach me at www.inhousecoach is the name of the company, inhousecoach.com. My phone number is 408-355-3193. As I said, I mostly work with people going through life transitions.
Okay.
And I can help pretty much anybody out. I love the work I do because I work at that fundamental level, and I can help people really what I call transcend some of these plateaus that they've reached and really get on the path that they want in their life.
Perfect. And specific to the Bay Area, and is it one-on-one coaching in person and telephone? How did your model work?
Yeah, specific to the Bay Area. It's one-on-one. I do some workshops and that kind of stuff. Visit my website, and you'll be able to find out more about that.
Perfect. All right. Thanks again for joining us this afternoon. This is Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate 360. I was joined today by Mike D'Ambrosio as our host on Mondays,
See
and
you on
also
Monday.
life coach Steve Stefanik. Yeah, Mike will be back with you Monday.
Yeah, Gino Bafari's on.
Is he on Monday?
Yeah.
Good. Tune in for Gino.
Yeah.
This is Joe Cucchiara. Thanks again for joining us this afternoon. Have a great afternoon, and we'll be back with you tomorrow. Take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate 360 on AM 1220 KDOW. For more information on today's program, visit RE360radio.com. That's RE360radio.com. AM 1220 KDOW.